Good morning. Buenos dias. I hope you are well, staying positive and focused on what you can control. My name is Patricia Mota, serving as President and CEO of HACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, national nonprofit whose mission since 1982 is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latinx talents, helping our communities, our diverse communities, to succeed professionally and thrive personally. Quick note that our thoughts and prayers are with the families most recently impacted by the violence at Michigan State University, the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria, along with so many other disasters that are currently happening. Our thoughts and prayers are with yours and your family members and those that have been impacted. And then two quick things in terms of announcements for HACE, in terms of resources and opportunities and deadlines that are coming up. The HACE Dr. Vinny Caraballo Scholarship, which is available to all students, whether you're undergrad or grad, whether you are also an undocumented student, that's available. And the deadline is on February 17th. So you've got 2 more days. I know my colleagues are dropping the links in the chat. So if you know of anybody who's in need of additional scholarship, financial support to complete their education, please make sure that you apply. And then the second thing is our Mujeres de HACE, our Women's Leadership Program application deadline is coming up on February 20th. And so make sure to go to our website. We'll also drop those links in the comment section so that you can, if not for you, make sure that you at least share with one more person that could benefit from those resources. So let us jump right in with our special guest for this morning with Cafecito con HACE. It's Ohilda Holguin or Ohilda Holguin, right? You got to make sure you pronounce the H, right? She is the founder of Latinas in Wellness. She's also a channel manager of Logitech and also the global lead for their ERG that she helped launch at Logitech. And she also participated in Mujeres de HACE. Ohilda, buenos dias. How are you today?
I am just so thrilled to be here. As you know, I love HACE and everything that you do. And this opportunity to have this little cafecito. Look, I'm ready.
You're ready. So there you go. Salud. Salud to wherever you all are tuning in from, that are engaging with us in the chat. If you have any questions, make sure that you have those ready. But we want to hear from you. Leverage this as a networking opportunity as we're chatting here as well, to let us know who you are, what resources you're seeking, and just to introduce yourself and to connect with one another. So the normal drill for Cafecito con HACE for our guests and for everyone tuning in. How do you like your cafecito prepared or your morning beverage of choice?
I love it black. You know, I definitely have my moments where I like to have a little, cream, like vanilla, and mix it up, pero negrecito, como me la hacía mi mamá. Black, just like my mom. The
Para
way they
que
used to make
puedas
it.
saborear, right? So you can taste the coffee,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. It's
And
that
its richness.
smell, right? I think that the added things are like my treats. So when I want to be cute and fun, I'll add some Chobani creamers.
Wonderful, wonderful. I know we've got a lot of coffee lovers that join us for Cafecito and a lot of folks that enjoy it just the way that you do, myself included. And every now and then you're like, you know what, let me add some leche in there and some cream.
Yes.
Ohilda, so you've been involved with HACE, connected to HACE for several years. And one of the things that we love about Cafecito con HACE is showcasing the rich diversity that our community represents, right? And so part of that is by showcasing your story. Tell us about your cultural, your professional background, how you got to where you are today.
So my family's originally from Dominican Republic. I was born and raised here in New York City, where I still am, Washington Heights, which now Google calls Little Dominican Republic. I visited every single summer of my life. So I really grew up in a very, very Dominican household. But I also was very diverse in that my friends and family members brought a rich, like New York urban Black culture to my life. I love women's empowerment, which is how I got connected with HACE. But to be honest, And I don't think I shared this with you really. I had to seek out my Latino
Mm,
um, professional
mm,
relationships. I did have some personal ones from growing up in the neighborhood, but as I went to college, as you know, my career, I started in domestic violence work. I did some um, education work, and then I moved into technology and sales, where I am now. Also, the founder of Latinas in Wellness. As a network, I believe that wellness is really important in our community. So I kind of bridged those gaps. So when I was trying to build my speaking career, my Latinas in Wellness career, and I wanted to look out, I said to myself, and actually a couple of my friends who are also similar to me, Afro Latinas,
yeah.
said, we have extensive networks, but not Latina ones. So I'm a
Mm,
member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. A couple of my other friends who are members of Sigma Gamma Rho, of Zeta Phi Beta, and here we all were Dominican, and we were all in this African American organization, sororities and community service, and we made it a point to say, let me go out and connect with these other Latina networks that we're currently not a part of. And that's how I met you. And it really, it was surprising to me because, again, I have a huge network,
yeah.
but I'm thankful that I.
Mm. I love that you shared that. And so, shout out. I know we have a lot of folks tuning in, not only from New York, but originally from Washington Heights, and a lot of Dominicanos, right, that are part
Mhm.
of our ASE Familia and our ASE network. Or perhaps you're new and you're tuning in. Please let us know, introduce yourself in the chat, engage with one another. You also shared about your Afro Latinidad, right? And shout
Mhm.
out to all of our Afro Latinos, our Black Latinos that are part of Divine Nine, because we have a lot of great friends that are part of those fraternities and sororities as well, that have been a resource for a lot of Latinos on these college campuses across the nation. Because to your point, right, perhaps the Latino sororities or organizations did not exist at the time, right? And so it's like looking at how do you be, but not only just that, but you could be a part of that, and also, which you're doing,
Yes.
part of Latino group. But how are we doing more together? I think is the key, and the beauty, especially for us as a Latino serving, not exclusive, but
Mhm.
organization, to be able to shine a light during this month, especially, right? Black
Yeah.
History Month.
Yeah.
So we'd love to hear from those joining in. If you can identify, if you have any stories, please engage with us. And as we know, Afro Latinos are an essential and vibrant group in terms of the makeup of the United States. Like, you're seeing a lot more inclusivity as it pertains to this specific demographic. How can we continue to support, right, Afro Latinos, Black Latinos in the workplace? And what are perhaps some of the unique challenges that you've experienced or that you see?
What's interesting is that sometimes, and for many years prior to the term, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one really knew, or I didn't feel, let's say about me, where I fit in. And what I mean by that
Mm.
is my mother would say certain things to me, and I'm like, Mommy, but I'm not Dominican like that. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
Dominican, but, and she's like, what do you mean? And I said, yeah, well, if I go there, physically there, they tell me, you're a New Yorker, you're not Dominican born, right? And then the other piece, and I joke about this, and I'm talking about this because it's so funny. When I wanted to join Delta Sigma Theta, I had a really close friend who was already a Delta, and she said, you're Latina, right? And I said, yeah. And do you know our history? And
Mm-hmm.
and I had to then educate, because that's the other piece. We have to educate
Mm.
folks. And I think that we're doing a better job now than in the past, but this was in the 90s, early 90s.
Mm.
And I said, I may be light skinned, but my mother is darker than you, is what I told my friend at the
Mm.
time. I said, my whole family, I was like the lightest in my mother's side of the family and the darkest in my father's part of the family, because they were very European looking.
Mm.
So, trying to find our place. And that happens to us in the workplace too, that, I currently, as I was building Logi Amigos, which is the ERG that I founded at Logitech, I didn't feel comfortable launching it because we also didn't have an African American ERG at the time. So I felt like I needed to represent
Mm.
both sides to me. And I reached out, and thankfully, actually, it was Divine Nine members that I found in Logitech. And I said, hey, there were two alphas. I said, I need your help. And I need to really highlight what we are. And at the time, I was also blessed, and this is also work related in the sense of what happens to us. our last names, and Latinos are very varied, right? I had a co-lead, and I thought she was African American too myself. Her name was Gabrielle Day, and she said, "I'm Dominican from Missouri," right? But some of the challenges are because we identify as Afro Latina, that we fit into this unique space that not everybody understands fully because we understand both cultures.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's special, and that brings a lot to the workplace, right? That is becoming not just the workplace, but just in general across is increasingly intersectional, right? And I think to be able to embrace all sides of how we identify or how we choose to identify, and being able to offer ERGs that are affinity groups that you've been able to launch and really get off the ground at Logitech, I think is so critical to really help and provide that support network. I think this is a conversation we can have not just during this month, and I know it's something that's critical for us as an organization to have throughout the year, right? I know about 6-7 years ago, or not 6-7 years ago, but especially when things around diversity, equity, inclusion, and the murder of George Floyd that happened, ASA did a lot around colorism and talking about colorism in the Latino community, right? And then shining a light around Afro Latinidad, and really shedding light to all of the challenges and having those candid conversations. But one of the things that really came up is like the conversation start at home, right? How are you ensuring within your own families that you're demystifying some of these stereotypes and biases that we all have, right? And it's because then that does trickle into the workplace as well. So we can talk for days, and I know that, but we want to make sure that we're opening it up for any questions or comments. We want to hear from the audience that's tuning in that you may have regarding this topic or in general. I know, Ohilda, you're a big fan on professional development for Latinas. You've participated in the Mujeres Asset program. And then we have this application that's coming up, their deadline for Mujeres Asset on February 20th. Any advice you would have from those that are thinking about it, or anything that you would share from your own experience as to why Mujeres Asset is such a valuable program?
Similar to what I mentioned earlier, there were not a lot of role models for me. I'm thankful that I came from a family where in Dominican Republic, my mother was an attorney and I had judges and, doctors. But here in the US, all my teachers were white, Caucasian, nuns, and that's all through high school and actually college. I don't think I ever had a professor of color. And then I came into like corporate life late in life because of that, right? I was first generation born here. I didn't have anybody to really guide me to provide leadership. I'm thankful for everything that I learned at Delta Sigma Theta because they really did teach me. So programs like ASE are vital for our youth who don't have access, who don't have role models, who are really just learning what this world of business, of corporate, of defining your leadership skills. I mean, I honestly, the amount of programming that you do, diverse programs, ASE, Mujeres de ASE was just completely amazing. And then the leaders that you introduce us to, who to this day I'm close with, that I pull them in as resources and we support one another. And that's something that I wish I had early on, like from high school on.
Yeah, no, all great examples. And I think your story is a perfect example in terms of the importance of building networks and affinity networks, right? Folks, places, organizations, programs that you have affinity with that then become a lifelong network, right? You said you're still typing into Divine Nine to this day, right? To help you at your current workplace. So if you are a student and you're not involved on campus, it doesn't have to be sororities or fraternities, but any type of org that you have an affinity that you're interested in, get involved and build those relationships for lifelong networks that help you in the workplace, right? And I think your story is it's a great example of that. And I know I can personally relate in terms of tapping in a lot of my networks that I've built and continue to build, right? Because it evolves over time. Now that you're in the workplace, right, you're like, okay, what can I do here to help those within my network, within my workplace, continue to offer value? And so lots of great nuggets that you're sharing, and we have a couple comments in the chat. George Alvarez, or Jorge Alvarez, recently co-founded and started a multicultural ERG as CNH. Would love any insights on hitting the ground running and adding value to an organization that is changing their culture. That is a great question.
It is, George. And, and first of all, congratulations. And it is a labor of love, and it's needed. I think the first thing, and that's what I kind of did was, and I got support, honestly. I went and I started looking to see who in leadership was Latino, right? And sometimes we don't have any, but I was blessed to have two. And I had my CEO, Bracken, is very supportive. But one of the things that we did was we tried to send out a survey, a global survey of what questions they may have, what needs arose. And it's still a work in progress. And what I mean by that is you have to continually kind of go in and see what are the new things that they need. But I would start with, what do you think can help you in your career, in your growth? Asking your own internal community what services you can provide. And then, honestly, what I did was I tapped into, I think, I don't know, maybe half of them are from the Mujeres de ACE group. And I've brought them in as speakers, panelists. Sometimes they just give me some support on different topics, not just intersectionality, but public speaking, listening circles, really tapping into all of these programs and networks that you already have on your own, and then bringing them in to promote and support those colleagues of yours. Because sometimes we think that because we're very verbal outside of the workforce that we're going to bring that in, but you have a lot of our Latino colleagues that don't, that they are a little shyer, they're a little bit more reserved in corporate, and we have to show them that they can shine too.
Yeah, and that is so critical. From the corporation, whether we're talking to CEOs or heads of HR, sometimes I hear they're like, we're not hearing from our Latino employees. They don't want to get involved. They're not, they don't care about, getting, and I know you all do, because I talk to you. So I'm like, so we need you to speak up, right? To make sure you're advocating for yourself, but think about the greater picture in terms of the impact that you're having in others. And Ohilda, you're doing that, right? You're doing that for your colleagues. You're doing that for yourself, and it's having, it will continue to have a ripple effect across the organization as well. So George, best wishes to you. Let us know how we can help. I know. Ohilda will continue and to answer any questions that are here even after we end today. So one last question from my colleague, Lisandra Jimenez. On our programs team, have you navigated microaggressions and having to prove your value in the workplace?
Yes. I have to say that here at Logitech, I've been a little blessed, thankful, but, I've been in corporate life for 15 years now, and I didn't always handle it well. And what I mean by that is, sometimes I was naive and I didn't even realize it, right? Like, for those of you who have seen probably my LinkedIn, my hair is usually curly now, but for a long time I would do this, but I always tell people I'm Dominican, right? So I do both. But I remember there was moments where, maybe I was at a conference and it rained and now my hair's curly, and I've had a boss who was like, oh, we always blow out our hair. And at first I was like, why would she say that? And then I'm like, oh, she's talking about my color, my hair. She's saying that I don't fit in, this microaggression. Or somebody told me, you're very urban, and it would be very slighted little things that it was hard to kind of verbalize, even to like HR, right? Like, how do I complain about that? As well as things where I work in sales, so I get commission, where sometimes I wasn't highlighted, and they said, oh, well, you're going to get highlighted with your check. And I'm like, but these guys, I've seen them get awards. And, so when I said I didn't handle it well is, at first I had to become aware, right? Because we also sometimes are very innocent in our experiences. So once I became aware, there was a couple of situations where I did leave a job because of one, because I just was like, she's in a position where she's been there a really, really long time. It was employee owned. She owned a lot of stake in the business. So I knew that the change was going to be hard. But what I have done recently is this: speak out. Speak to my CEO, speak to the DEI. Thankfully, we have more of those available. And if not, speak to whoever in leadership, HR, who can allow you to have those conversations so that they realize it is happening. One of the things that I always say to people is, sometimes they don't realize that they're doing it. And I'm not excusing the ones that are doing it out of spite. But if they're in areas where they never met a Latino, or they've only met one from one particular country, maybe they've only met a Mexican, maybe they've only met a Puerto Rican, they don't know the diversity of our diaspora. So I try to educate, and that's what I do. And I also remind myself they're human, right? They're not any better than me. They have generations that were before me. They may have more money, they may have more education, but they're still human beings, right? So that's, I treat them as an individual human being. And then if I feel that that aggression is coming, then I now do one-on-one conversations and say, hey, listen, I don't think that it was intentional, but I would like you to understand that I kind of felt that what you said wasn't appropriate. And not that you're responsible for my feelings, but I need you to understand why, right? It's the why. And then if you have the opportunity in your spaces, having listening circles are very good, and inviting allies to come and visit, reminding allies that we need them because, in the past, they may have needed other allies, right? Whether it was leadership, whether it was, men to support women. Now we need them as well. So not seeing them as opposers, seeing them as part of the
Thank you for sharing. I know a lot of great tips that came out of your personal experience. So thank you for sharing that, and and being open in terms of the path, how that has evolved for you, that you're turning it into an educational moment, which I think more of us need to do more often. Right, these days, and having those conversations. And so we've got to wrap up. So let us know, what are you most hopeful for the remainder of this year?
Just continue growing and strengthening our Latino communities, letting them know that we do have networks out here like HACE, that we do have professionals. You may not see us all, and we might be a couple in these spaces, but that we are here. We are here to support. Find us on LinkedIn, find me, connect with your HACE community and others, and let's continue to support each other.
Ohilda, thank you for your time, your insights. We appreciate it very much. All of those tuning in, please continue to comment and engage. Y hasta la próxima. Until next time, everyone. Bye-bye.
Adiós. Muchas gracias.
A ti.
Bye, Ase.